Melissa Jeffries is the picture of health. It's hard to believe she lived half her life with seizures due to poorly controlled type 1 diabetes.
It's terrifying. Her eyes would roll back in her head, but she would not be conscious of anything I was doing.
Diagnosed at age 14, Melissa struggled with seizures when her blood sugars would drop dangerously.
We had this seizure and my parents didn't know what was going on. The EMT guys wouldn't treat me for a diabetic seizure because they hadn't been trained that diabetics had seizures. People were trying to tell my sister, just tell us that she's on drugs so we know how to treat her. And my sister's going, she's not on drugs. There's nothing going on here. I ended up in a coma for 2 days because they had waited so long for that to treat the seizure.
Type 1 diabetes occurs when the body's own immune system attacks and destroys the insulin-producing cells of the pancreas. Insulin is critical to the body's absorption of nutrients, so when none is available, the cells of the body begin to starve. At the same time, the nutrients, or glucose, build up in the blood. Over time, those high blood sugars can damage vital nerves and organs. Today, Melissa keeps her diabetes controlled through the use of an insulin pump. As a teen, however, treatment consisted of insulin shots, carefully measured and timed with the intake of food. Like many teenagers, Melissa wasn't very cooperative with her parents' efforts to control her sugars.
I just started hiding food. It's horrible to eat when you're not hungry. So I just started hiding it places. And so I wouldn't have to eat it. And that was a great part of the management because, of course, I was taking insulin for the stuff that I was doing. So then I'd have a low blood sugar, and then I'd have to go sneak some food because why am I having a low blood sugar? And it was an endless vicious cycle of lies.
Low blood sugars can be life-threatening. Left untreated, the result could be a coma and death. Luckily, there are warning signs.
You feel shaky, you feel really weak. You're actually really, really hungry. I know instantly if I have low blood sugar, if I think anything I'm thinking of sounds delicious. Sometimes you'll sweat, and when you sweat, you'll sweat profusely. Like it's just like you wake up and the sheets are totally soaking wet.
Getting just the right dose of insulin is a tricky business. Exercise and stress, as well as highly sugared foods, can cause levels to change daily. And for the younger Melissa, the long-lasting insulin often prescribed as a base dose didn't work.
That was the main thing. My doctors kept playing with, like certain things peaked dramatically and the other ones peaked a little bit, so they kept playing around with which one they were going to use for me, and none of them worked. They would all send me into seizures.
Between 3 and 5 in the morning, it seemed to be when the insulin would drop out and her blood sugar would just totally bottom out to 0. I would jump up with a start, run to the fridge, grab a juice, and come back.
Scream, Melissa!
Are you okay? And I thought she was dying. I didn't know what to do, and so I would get mad. I would get mad because I thought it was her fault. She wasn't taking care of herself, and why are you doing this to me? And not realizing, of course, that it's the insulin. It's not her at all.
Come here, look at us.
Today, Melissa is seizure-free, and her insulin levels are typically within normal ranges. Find out what she did to gain control of her sugars in part 2 of our series.